This is Listen After Watching,
a podcast where we recap and discuss the most mind-bending, twisty, and thought-provoking TV shows and movies out there. I'm Adrian.
And I'm Alicia. Let's dive in. Welcome, everyone. Happy President's Day if you're listening to this on Monday when we put it out. But the day that we're recording this, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, sending you all love hearts.
Is doing like the BTS heart.
Have you noticed people from the UK say love hearts when they're talking about like, Valentine's Day hearts? Because I guess if you just say heart, they're thinking of like the anatomical heart.
That's kind of cute. I like that. Where did you hear that? Are you watching some UK show right now?
Heard this on what's that show that I watch that it's like
Love
the
Island?
trashiest show. Yeah.
The trashiest show. I mean, yeah.
I heard this on Love Island, and that's where I learned most of the important things in my life.
It's so good, though.
It's so good. Love hearts. Love hearts to all our listeners.
We love you. And I love you, Age.
I love you too, you little freak. What are you doing for Valentine's Day?
Oh my gosh. We are having dinner with Matt's parents.
How
super romantic. Yeah. We're going to this Japanese place that Matt's dad wants to take us to. So that should be fun.
Okay.
Sorry. Also, my cats are going crazy in the background. So if you hear meow,
oh my God, I see him up above your head.
They're crazy right now. Anyway, yeah, nothing special or romantic, just normal Friday night, but looking forward to, we're going on a trip together this weekend to DC, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, that will be fun. It's my girlfriend's 30th B-day.
Oh my gosh, 30!
We're gonna celebrate the little girl. So cute. Oh my God, I need to stop this accent.
The Love Island is rotting your brain.
We got started. Well, I think it was already pretty far gone.
Yeah, you're right. Are you doing anything for Valentine's Day?
Well, we had an early Valentine's Day because we knew we were going to be recording this in preparation for the trip. So we went to this fancy French restaurant Wednesday. An early Valentine's. And then it was okay.
Oh, damn.
It was okay. It wasn't, I'm not like itching to go back super soon.
Listen, okay, to all listeners out there, something you need to know about Adrian is that they are so hard to please in some areas. Like, I think TV is one of those when we talking about TV and movies. Like, we're really starting on a high with Severance because it's like the best show that I think we've seen in a really long time. But just wait till we get to some other things. Adrian's going to be like, it was all right. I thought it was okay. Like, that actually means it's not bad.
I think that's good for everyone because you can really trust when I tell you something's good, it's going to blow your mind.
That's true.
So, but yeah, this restaurant wasn't that great.
Anyway.
But tonight we're making homemade pizzas.
Oh, fun.
And giving each other our little gifts. So that'll be cute.
That's so sweet. Aw.
Yeah. But we don't have time for all this small talk because we have a lot to discuss today.
That we do. And because we're recording early, we might not get to all of like the things that people are saying and seeing online. So just a heads up that like we might not talk about the best or latest theories that you're reading about. So if we don't, I mean, jump on our socials and tell us what you see. We'd love to know what it is that is piquing your interest.
Yes, please do. This episode was packed full of so many little character development moments. I feel like not like plot-wise, there weren't a lot of big things that moved us forward, but there were a lot of little moments. We could probably talk about it for like 6 hours, like picking apart every little scene that happened because some of them are just so like emotionally poignant,
Mhm.
but we're going to try to hit all of the high notes here and the lows.
Well, let's get into it.
Let's do it. Before we begin, this is your perpetual spoiler alert. If you have not watched Severance Season 2, Episode 5, Trojan's Horse, stop right now, go watch the episode, come back and listen because you're going to want to hear all this good nitty gritty stuff we are about to discuss.
True that. Well, before we get into the plot breakdown, what is your takeaway word for the episode?
Oh, baby. should we say, I think yours might be the same as mine. I think this every time.
I do. Yeah, me too.
Okay, should we say them at the same time? No, we can't because it cuts out the sound. I do this every time. Okay, I will say mine. I'll try to say it like Milchick does. Glockskluben.
As soon as you said that, I was like, we do have the same word, damn it.
Okay, you say it.
Grakschupen. What a great every episode, every week, Severance is spiking Google searches for these obscure words and phrases. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, as soon as we saw that scene, Abby turned to me and was like, "That's definitely your word. That's got to be your word."
The only other one that was stood out to me was contretemps when Mr.
Oh,
Drummond says that. Yeah.
yeah, I was cracking up when he said that.
I know this mullet man or whatever
That
kind of
guy's
bowl haircut he's got going on.
I know. He's an enigma. I don't fully understand that man yet.
Me either.
Well, let's get into the Glockgruppen of it all. Jumping in, down on the severed floor, a mystery man rolls an empty cart to O&D to collect products that look like dental tools. We don't see his face, but he takes them to the exports hall and down the elevator. Did you have any inkling to who you think this might be?
One of my first thoughts was like, could this be Bert's husband? Like we haven't seen him yet.
I will say some other people were saying that on Reddit, and then some other good Severance viewers went back to when they kind of show Bert's husband in
Mm,
season 1, and they're saying it does not look like it's the same guy. But I wouldn't count that completely out if they couldn't get the same actor. I think it is a known actor that's playing Bert's husband, um,
mhm.
who was on Fringe, I think, and maybe a couple other things. Um, so I don't know. I don't think it's him from what I've read. Other people are saying Petey. I
Ah,
don't think we're gonna see that man
him
again,
again.
unfortunately.
No.
Other people, okay, it's getting out there. Other people are saying it's old Mark.
Oh, come on. Be
I
real.
think, but also it could be James Egan with the Glockschoopen of it all,
Oh, that's an interesting theory.
because they do stick on that for a moment while he's telling that story, and then I'm like, who else could have been James Egan? Like, if they put that in.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the stature of the person. Like maybe they were wearing a wig because the hair also looked like a helmet. It was like so shiny and bouffanted out.
Yeah, it was weird that they didn't show the person, and maybe we'll never see this person's face, and it's, you know, a moot point. But that was my guess, is like, with that story, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yes.
And if you think about, if you remember back to Felicia and the other O&D worker standing there, they are like, they look scared. They look like this is a
Mm,
very serious moment and they need to like stand in place, like if a big like authority figure or someone was like approaching you.
yeah.
So
I like that theory.
it just seems like a very serious um experience protocol. It seems like a very serious occasion.
Yeah.
whenever they're taking things down to the export hall. It's not just like, "Oh, we got another shipment for you, Earl," or like, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it seems very tense.
Mhm. And
Hmm.
what could they be doing with these dental tools?
I don't know. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. I've gotten my teeth cleaned
Yeah,
before.
I think it was definitely I'm not so sure the way you're saying it.
I promise, I
Um,
promise.
but it would further the theory that there are some people down there that they are keeping and need these sort of supplies.
How big is this containment area that they employ dentists down there?
It's crazy, and why aren't they just buying their dental tools?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know. Well, it's
I was
like they talked about that door guy talked about how Lumen makes all their doors in house. Like there's some reason why
Yeah.
they make everything like bespoke for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was thinking about this a little bit today and trying to think about why would they need to make every single thing for whatever they're doing to work? Something to ponder.
Put a pin in that.
Carry on leash.
So, following the ORTBO, a reluctant Helena meets with Mr. Drummond and Natalie, where she is compelled to continue working on the severed floor as her innie until Mark completes the Cold Harbor file. Then, Mark Dillon and Helly, the real Helly, meet with Mr. Milchick, where he explains why Helena was undercover as her innie, hence the Gluckschlupen, and tells them that Irving will not be returning. So, we're thinking of this from like Helly's perspective. She was at the gala saying they torture us down there. Then she gets tackled. Then she's being drowned by Irving. And then she's just back at work. What a
And
weird
everyone's pissed at
experience.
her.
Yeah, that's the worst part is like everybody is just shunning her, like doesn't trust her as soon as she's down there.
I know. I really feel bad for Helly in this episode. She's just getting the brunt end of what Helena has done here.
Mhm. And Helena, like, what did you think of her interaction with Mr. Drummond and Natalie when they're basically like forcing her to go down there?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, we kind of suspected that Helena didn't have much choice in kind of carrying out this stunt for Lumen, but now we are can confirm that even though she doesn't want to go down there, they're forcing her to. And weirdly not updating her dad on what's going on.
Yeah, I wonder if they're not updating her or if he's like, he seems like intentionally distant from her, which leads one to think like put more stock into theories around like she's being used as just like a vessel for something like the revolving or whatever that he was talking about in season one. um but yeah, it's just like she's obviously really, she's got a lot of anger. I mean, we saw it come out in the last episode a bunch, but she's got so much anger, not just at the system she finds herself in that she like has to work with, but also I think it like herself. I mean, she probably doesn't like the role she was born into.
Yeah, and she's mad at the innies. She's mad at the severed people and again calls them animals.
Mhm.
And we're not gaining any respect for Helena. And
No.
this episode didn't help her at all.
No, so it was a breath of fresh air to see our girl Helly back.
Ooh, 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 ooh. We love Helly. I love the way she just walks like she's never walked before. Swinging her. She's kind of like hunched her shoulders. I'm trying to do it.
We have got to clip this, okay? Yes, okay. You're gonna see
I think I'm
this. Go to
nailing
our
it.
socials.
I gotta say I nailed it, so go look that up.
She is, like she's stomping around. I mean, the actress Brit, does, like, such a great job of making clear differences between her innie and outie. I mean, they all do, but, you can really tell in the stomp of it all.
Yeah, she really does. From the moment she goes down and we finally see Helly again come out in the elevator, it's just like such a change physically.
Mhm. Um, when Helena is meeting with Mr. Drummond and Natalie, Mr. Drummond has, a line where he calls James father, like, not your father, not, James or Mr. Egan or whatever. He says father when talking with Helly, and people are like or Helena, and people are saying, "Does that mean that he's Helena's brother?" I don't know
Mhm.
if I really buy this. Like, maybe he's, like, an illegitimate child or something.
Maybe. He has an accent. He has like
That's
a
true.
Nordic accent. Um, yeah, I immediately was like, "Oh, is that a line we're supposed to pick up on?" Or is he just saying father like, "Oh, my cult leader, father."
Right. Yeah, I think, most people are taking it that way. That's how I kind of took it, but I was taken aback by it when I was watching. I was like, "Hmm?" Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't see any other clues to that.
So then we get to see the MDR team come together again in Milchick's office with the real Heliar. And he surprisingly tells them about the Glasgow block and
Mhm.
explains that Helena is just checking in on how things are going and wants to report back. And we get the Glockschuppen story, which apparently he's pronouncing completely wrong, and I'm sure we're getting even further from what it is. But the selling the idea that it's like that show that they used to have where like the CEO of the company would like put on a prosthetic nose and like work a day at like the Domino's or something and like
Mhm.
see the struggle of their employees.
Oh, yeah.
So
This
he's
is
like selling it.
Lumen Undercover Boss.
Yeah. He's selling it as like this good thing. Like they had good intentions when they did this. But I
Mhm.
don't think any of them are buying it. Uh
No.
they're all really concerned about where Irving is.
Yeah, and, Milchick does tell them that Irving is not going to be returning after he's pressed about it by all of them. And I think they're, feeling, like, grief about it, but maybe at least some clarity and honesty in what Milchick shared with them.
Yeah, well, he does also say that he went on an elongated cruise retreat or something,
Voyage.
so
Yeah.
voyage. So he's
Uh,
partially honest, I guess.
yeah, that's true, which he was not on a cruise because we see him later in this episode.
Just another, like, stupid lie that is not helpful. Well, back at the MDR office at their new tri-desk setup, Dylan demands a funeral for Irving, and Milchick complies. After Dylan delivers his eulogy, Miss Huang wheels in a watermelon sculpture of Irving's head. The group is partaking in refreshments when Dylan reveals to Helly that Miss Casey is Mark's Audie's wife.
Oof.
Ooh.
Helly is catching up on a lot of stuff late in the game. I feel for her. And she's just having to like kind of piece these things together as to why Mark is being so cold. But yeah,
Yeah,
what an interesting funeral we attended.
it was. And I love how they already had like a kit for this.
Mhm.
that they were just ready to pull out. I love the sign that Miss Huang's
Mhm.
printing on their old ass printer.
Mhm. The mugs were great.
The mugs, they love merch at
Yeah, they
Lumen.
do.
They really love merch.
And
And did
honestly,
you
I
see
would
that
buy
they
it.
had I did see on Reddit, people were like, "Please release the mug." Did you notice that they had the mugs ready for the other people too?
Yes, I did. I saw the ones for Petey. I think those were, in the shot too. Yeah. That we should talk about that scene because it's, like, when they're, Milchick and Miss Huang are, like, in the back room prepping, and
Mhm.
they have a really tense relationship. Like, the power dynamic, like, the power struggle between them is so evident. Like, she says to Milchick, "Can I say a question?" Which is a funny way to say that. And then she says, "You shouldn't let them have a funeral. It makes them feel like people." And he's basically like, "Don't tell me what to do," you know?
Yeah.
Like, "This is my job."
Yeah, it was definitely tense between them, which is odd because he's visually a grown man talking to like a young girl.
Yeah.
So, how would she think she has like any power in this situation? But she obviously does
Mhm.
feel
Yeah,
like
she
she
definitely
has some
does.
power here.
Yeah,
So,
why is
yeah, that
she
was
even there?
interesting.
Who is she?
Yeah, who is she? Is she someone that some people are saying that it's Cobell in her, or like that wouldn't make sense because Cobell's being a freak trying to get back in. But is this like an adult entity in this child's body and Milchick knows that?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Let's talk about Dylan's eulogy, which was, salty and sugary, as Milchick put it. But yeah, it was so perfectly Dylan, and we didn't get a lot of him in the last episode, so it was nice to have him not only highlighted in this episode in that way, but also felt like so appropriate for him to give the eulogy for Irv's funeral. Um, he put the dick in contradiction. That was funny. He talks about the toner, toner in the water cup part was so hilarious, but it was just sweet. So so quintessential Dylan.
Yeah, that was great. It was nice to see after, the past few episodes we've seen Dylan and Irv get really close,
Mhm.
which we weren't expecting. So like you said, for him to do the eulogy, it just made sense. And then yeah, I loved when he was like, I did take a sip later anyway because I forgot that he had said that.
Oh, I love
Oh,
him.
so good. So sincere in a weird ass way. One thing to point out though is that Mark is noticeably not into this funeral.
No. And he's just like he seems like he wants to get back to work or like continue on as normal. But I think he's just so out of sorts and like feeling really weird about the Helly Helena thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people online were saying maybe this is reintegration and we're seeing like some of Audi Mark come through, but I
Mm.
think it's just this is the nature of this man when life is like gives him lemons, you know?
Mhm.
Like when real stuff happens, this is kind of who he becomes. And that's why
Yeah.
Audi Mark is the way he is and kind of just like disillusioned. And even when he's talking to Helly and Helly's like, I'll help you find her. I'll help you find her. And he's like, don't you see like it's useless? They know what we're doing. They know everything we're saying. We don't have a chance. Like he's completely given up at this point. It seems like.
Yeah. And we can't also blame him for like, not really trusting Helly to be who she says she is at this point, and it's clear he, like, can't even trust himself because they have this scene in the bathroom where he's like, um, I guess I don't even know who you are." Like, he couldn't tell a difference, and maybe he has, like, his crush to blame for that. That's probably a lot of it, but I think he's just, like, really questioning a lot of his reality.
Yeah, that's true. How could he be sure that it's not still Helena? And as we
Mhm.
know on the outside, Helena was proposing that she came back in after all of that.
Right? I
So,
know.
I don't know how Helly's gonna prove to Mark that she's a different person and that it is in fact her. But it seems like they need to get to a point where they trust each other again.
Yeah, for sure. I think he does, like, they have that moment where they're arguing in the hallway after she finds out that Miss Casey is his outie's wife, and he basically, like, tells her that he doubts who she is. He doesn't trust her, and the last thing she says to him is, like, "Stop being an asshole," or something like that, and that's, like, so Helly, and I think he realized in that moment, like, "Oh, this is, like, the person who I thought it was," because the woman that I knew the past few days would not do that.
Mm, yeah.
Well, after the ceremony, Dylan realizes that Irving's final words to him, "hang in there," reference a break room poster, and he discovers a card with directions to the exports hall behind it, but he quickly hides the card again right after. What did you think about this moment?
Oh, man. I think we're all waiting for him to find this and to realize what was going on. I'm a little worried that he put it back. I know it might be the safest place for it, but I'm a little worried just knowing the loyalty he showed after being told about the Audi family visitation suite. And now that
Mhm.
he's tasted that visit with his Audi's wife, I don't know if he's willing to risk losing that to follow this.
Yeah, I think you're right that he is struggling a bit with what to do, whether to rebel and, like, discover what's going on or to be obedient and just continue working so that he can see Gretchen and maybe his kids. Um, but yeah, I don't know, did you pause the TV and look at it? Because I did.
No, I didn't. What did you see?
Oh my gosh, I thought it was gonna be, like, um, more interesting to read, but because it's, like, pretty long, on
Mhm.
the directions on the back of the picture, and it starts off, like, "From O&D." I'm just paraphrasing, but, like, take a left, then a right, go down this long hallway, then take a left, then a right, and it just continues on, like, left, right, 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 left, left, right, right, left, right, long hallway, right, 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 like, it keeps going and going and going.
Wow.
It's funny.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what he does with this. I mean, the most recent thing we saw from him was basically him saying, "I should have listened to what Irving said." So I have faith that he's going to eventually come to the conclusion that they need to follow this lead.
Yeah,
And hopefully Mark snaps out of it and starts getting back to business of finding Miss Casey.
hope so too. I believe in Dylan.
Me too. Well, Milchick undergoes his first performance review as department head, where Mr. Drummond harshly criticizes his failed kindness reforms, demanding that the innies be treated as what they really are. Milchick reassures him that he's tightening the leash. Later, Milchick confronts Mark in the elevator as he's about to leave work, revealing he knows that Mark and Helena had sex during their retreat. And he does not use those words.
I was just about to say, he says the F word.
Oh my god. This was tense.
This was crazy. First of
First of
all,
all,
okay, No, you go first of all. I'll go second of all.
I was gonna say, first of all, let's talk about his performance review and the fact that he's only been doing this for 1 month, apparently.
I know, and they said these performance reviews are monthly, and they're 2 to 6 hours.
At least they include lunch, you know?
If it's over 4 or
Oh, it
3
will
or
be.
whatever they said. But man, um, yeah, the performance review was so funny because it's like you see Milchick looking at, like, his, documents on the performance review, and they're, like, beautifully designed, like, glossy pages printed in color, like, it is so weird for it to be so formalized, but I guess not for Lumen. Um, and then Mr. Drummond is, like, reading out the contentions, and, like, the first 2 are, like, stupid, frivolous things, whatever. Like,
Yeah,
why does he even mention those?
I know. I think it's everyone on Reddit is like, "Well, Miss Huang definitely made those anonymous complaints."
Yeah,
I love the
I
first
know.
one is that he uses too big of words.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Which he does. I
Uh,
mean, we have to look up the definitions of a word every week,
he
but
uses some big words, but so does Mr. Drummond, apparently.
I know, contretemps. Well, they're teaching us, you know?
I guess. I feel like Lumen values that, though, in all of their like, the way they talk. I don't know.
I think so too,
Miss
which
Huang does
is
not.
no, she doesn't. I think she's obviously taking digs at him if she submitted these.
Mhm.
Um, but we have to talk about this moment before Milchick steps into the performance, review room,
Oh,
and
yes.
he has a moment with Natalie,
Yes.
and he's like, "Hey, can we, like, talk about how we felt when we got these paintings maybe?" And she doesn't, like, totally shut him down and all of that, but she doesn't reveal, like, how she really felt about it, but you can tell that there's something there. And it's got a lot of people talking online about, first of all, like, the role that race is playing in, Milchick's job and Natalie's job and, like, the overall, company that is Lumen and cult that is Lumen. And I think we see that play into obviously, like, every part of Milchick, but, like, in this performance review, like, using too big of words. Like, what? Why are we being so nitpicky with this person?
Yeah. Yeah, this moment between them was great. It was so the scene a couple episodes ago where Natalie presents him with those paintings, we see a bit of this and the words aren't exchanged, but just in like their looks to each other and the tension that's there. That's like the subtext of it. But Milchick goes and says out loud, like flat out asks her, which is such a risk, like
Mhm.
knowing that she's in this position of power, just knowing that, this could go really bad if she's not open to discussing this.
Mhm.
So that was a huge risk for him to even bring up the subject. And I mean, Natalie doesn't say, she doesn't, like you said, she didn't shut it down. You can
Mhm.
tell that she would love to be able to talk about this probably, but
Yeah.
you can just feel like the oppressive environment of working in a place like this where you can't talk about race, you can't talk about the ways that your differences are making you have this completely other experience that no one can relate to.
Mhm.
And so we as the viewer want them to be able to connect so bad, and I think they both would love that so much. But the whiteness of it all will not allow them to connect in this way. And
Yeah.
it's sad. You feel sad for Milchick and for Natalie,
Mhm.
just knowing that they are these cogs who in name and in title have some power, but at the same time are so powerless to the systems, the real systems of power at play.
Yeah, like, when they interact here and Milchick is, like, bringing it up to her in probably the most direct way that he feels comfortable. He doesn't even say, like, "Hey, like, how did you, as a fellow Black person, feel about this?"
Yeah.
Like, they can't even say, like, "I'm Black, you're Black, like, let's talk about it." Um, and also, like, he's being chewed out in his performance review for what happened in the ORTBO with Helly and then Irving being dismissed because of it too. But, like, it's not his fault that Helena decided to infiltrate and do all of that. Like, that was not his call. And so to blame him for that is just another layer to this. Like, of course, they're going to blame him. Like, and to think that it has nothing to do with his race would be ignorant. But of course, Lumen is not going to admit that. And I think the cracks are definitely starting to form in Milchick. And I hope that Natalie aids in that and he finds, like, uh, I don't know, like some type of camaraderie, like kinship with her. But unfortunately, he does immediately after this performance review go and take it out on Mark.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're gonna see him do what he says and tighten the leash before we see those cracks fully break him out of this and hopefully change sides. Or
I think so.
I think hearing Miss Huang say they're gonna it makes them feel like they're human, I think was kind of like hinting at Milchick does see them as human, like in some way. It's it's interesting because he's such a complex character where he's like trying to serve this higher power that doesn't fully respect him as a black man, and
Hmm.
he's in a place of authority over these other people. It's just like
Right.
it's such a good character building in that we all have spaces to be good and bad at the same time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think this is a big, like, Milchick season, I feel. Like, this feels like his season, like, everything's culminating to something big that he's gonna do. So, I think we're gonna get there. We have, several episodes left, so I have faith.
I really should have done Milchick hero moment instead of Rickon, huh?
Yeah, sorry, you'll never get bingo with that.
Damn.
Alright, let's move on. So, we see Rickon beginning work on the Lumen edition of the UUR, which is laden with company propaganda, much to Devon's dismay. Meanwhile, Irving, making another call from the phone booth, notices that Bert is watching him and he confronts him. And Bert admits he has been following Irving since the overtime contingency and theorizes that they were romantically involved on the severed floor. He invites Irving to dinner the next day with his husband, Fields.
Oh my my. So Rickon is being brainwashed basically by
Yeah.
Lumen offering him money for this book. Uh
Yeah, I hate Rickon in this scene. I hate him in most scenes.
it's not looking good for him. I think
No.
this is gonna further divide him and Devon. It already is, it seems.
Mhm.
And he's already like caving on his so-called beliefs that he apparently had about how Lumen was evil and doing all this stuff. And all it took was Natalie coming and saying, "We love what you're doing.
Mhm.
You're great. We're gonna pay you."
Yeah, he also gives us the title of the episode when he says, "It's a Trojan's horse," which is such a funny way to say it.
I
Trojan's
know.
horse.
I hated that. I was hoping I was hoping we were gonna get an actual like Trojan horse. moment, which I guess it might have been Helena?
I feel like we need to talk at the end of this about all the various Trojan horse type
Oh.
symbolism references in this because I
Mhm.
feel like there's a lot. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, Rickon also like kind of holds it over Devon's head that he's like providing for the family with his books and
Gross.
stuff. And it's like, well, if you want this lavish lifestyle, then you should be okay with, Lumen putting me on their payroll. Like, that's sick.
Ew.
I hate him for that.
Yeah, he's just like Helena, they're not getting any better.
No.
They're
But
only getting worse.
on the flip side, Irving and Bert chit chat, outies. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm so glad they finally talked because we saw Bert watching Irving episodes ago in the same
Mm-hmm.
scenario. And we learned for sure that Bert was fired because of this relationship.
Mm-hmm. I find it interesting that he was fired for that, you know? Like, this is part of what makes me wonder, like, who is Bert's husband? Like, does he maybe work for Lumen or at Lumen and was just like, that's gross, that's my husband? Like, no, even though it's probably something that's not normally or a fireable offense. I don't know.
Yeah, and it is interesting that we learned the name of the husband. It seems
Feels.
like he is going to become a character with that has some meaning in the story beyond
Oh, yeah.
just being Bert's husband. So maybe there is
Mhm.
something to that.
Yeah. And we still don't know who Irving was calling.
Yeah. Do you have any new theories for that?
I really don't. He doesn't say a lot. He just tells this person that he was fired and then he like cuts it short cuz he notices Bert. Um but yeah, I don't know. I don't think
Yeah.
it's Petey's phone.
Yeah. I'm thinking Ragabi, and some people are saying could be Cobell.
Hmm.
We
Now that would
haven't
be
heard from
interesting.
her in a couple episodes, and I think that would be an interesting twist if Audi Irving has been working with Kobelvik.
You know what? That could be true because, if he's not reintegrated like some people think, then he wouldn't know Cobell on the outside. And so she could just
Mhm.
be like, just like she was masquerading as a lactation nurse, she could be masquerading as like some informant or like source for him
That's true.
and
She's
just like
known to don disguises.
put on a good set of scrubs and, who knows who you
And
are.
show that baby how to suck a titty.
You are wrong for that.
Oh,
Uh,
God. It is looking like our thruple theory might have some legs, though.
it honestly might. I think there's something to that.
A thruple and a ham? Sign
And
me up for next.
expensive red wine.
Okay. Done. I'm in.
Bert
Cancel
said
all my plans.
he's not a cheap date, okay? He needs expensive red wine. I love that.
And you're bringing to the table a ham? Okay, come on.
Honestly, that sounds like the least appealing food I can possibly think of.
Yeah, that sounds gross.
Sorry, ham lovers.
We also see in the scene here Irvin taking down all of his paintings of the exports hall.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know if
So,
he's like, do you think he's like kind of over it? Like he's starting to close the book on that chapter of his life cuz then he makes the call that he was fired. So I wonder if he's like just trying to wrap up that, the whole lumen of it all.
yeah, I think so. There's this theory that he was doing these paintings, drinking all this coffee to try to send a message to his innie.
Mhm.
And maybe that's true because he very easily stopped painting all of these things and drinking the coffee. So it must have been that he was doing this for a purpose and to reach his innie. And now that there is no innie, he has no reason to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Um, and let us not forget that Irving has been doing research into other severed employees, things about them, trying to make contact with them, seemingly.
Yeah.
So,
It's not over for him. Like he's been working there for years and maybe he's also been collecting this information for years. So I think this connection with Bert is going to reignite something for him.
yeah, I agree. Can't wait to see. So we learn this episode that Ragabi is now living with Mark. And she informs him when they're in the basement and sees this box that Lumen has connections in the morgue and reveals that the cremated remains Mark possesses are in fact not Gemma's.
Mm.
As Mark is walking upstairs in the final scenes of this episode, he starts hearing something, and it's Miss Casey's voice. In a sudden flash to the severed floor, Mark sees Gemma alive.
Dude, the final part of this episode when I realized like, oh, it's a wellness session, like that's what he's hearing and then he flashes and he's there. I was like, he's going to see her, he's going to see her, he's going to see her. Like I knew that it was coming and it was like a little bit of a build to it and oh my gosh, I got teary-eyed.
Yeah, for Mark, he's been for a while now hearing people say, "Oh yeah, she's alive," like blah blah blah. They have her. But this is the first like concrete proof, like seeing with his own eyes that there's something to this. She's down there and it is her.
Yeah, ugh, it was so emotional and this is like the first big like reintegration moment that he's had. So
Mhm.
I'm curious to see how the rest of it plays out because it's like so messy. Like it's not real what he's seeing. He's not really there. It's not
Mhm.
maybe it's a real memory from his innie, but it's just like so complicated how it is piecing together.
Mhm. I'm really curious about this too. I'm curious how they're going to show reintegration as it gets closer and closer, like the innie and the
Mhm.
outie version of him, because it can't constantly be flashes of things. You know, at some point,
Right.
it's going to have to be just one reality, right?
Mhm. Yeah, maybe the next session with Ragabi will give him something more.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to have to signal to us and say something like, oh, this final session should fully bond the two of you, or something like that.
Yeah, lead us there, please.
Because even in Reddit, people are like, "Oh, because of reintegration, it's Audi Mark doing this," and it's like, no, they're
No,
showing us when he's experiencing these
exactly.
moments.
Yeah, we're gonna have one big moment where it's like everything's connected again, but we're not
Yeah.
there. I did want to point out one thing when we're hearing Miss Casey say like the wellness session things. Obviously, we're hearing Mark's memories of what he's heard her say. So we're also getting like some funny little um possibly true facts about Mark's Audi, which is fun. But then the last thing she says, and it cuts off at the end
Mhm.
of the episode, but she says, "Your Audi is going to." Like that is so crazy. Think about that. Like you would not enter a wellness session and hear your Audi is going to do anything. So
No.
like and the way that it cuts off, it almost sounds like a K sound, like your Audi is going to k, and it's like cuts there and I'm like, "Kill?" I don't know exactly where the sentence is going, but that just like blew my mind. Like is he having like a premonition and experiencing the past at the same time?
Yeah, or is he somehow connecting with Miss Casey slash Gemma and she's telling him something? Or
Dude.
yeah, is this like a repressed memory of something that's like fueling this? I don't know. A lot of people are saying that maybe she was going to say, your Audi is going to be a father.
Oh my god. That would be
Would
wild.
would be not a cool thing for her to be telling you.
No. No, it wouldn't. Yeah, I don't
But
know.
I'm really curious to see if there are other like flash moments like this where he's hearing things from her that definitely have not been said in the past or are about the future.
Yeah. That blew my
And
mind.
is this more of a hint towards what Lumen is working on, which is something we haven't talked about, which would be time, something to do with time, premonitions.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dang. It could be crazier than we think.
I think it will be.
I want to talk about this other interesting parallel moment in this episode. The writing is just so smart. So, earlier in the episode, when Mark is like, I'm leaving Irving's funeral, like, I want to get back to work, Helly says to him something like, what's wrong with you? Like, your friend is dead. And he says, he's not dead. He's just not here. And then, in the end of the episode, when he is talking about Gemma's remains, uh, he's like, I thought it was her. And he puts them away and he's like, well, I guess she's not dead. She's just not here. It's just so brilliant. Like the innies and outies being and saying the same things. I just love that. I did not recognize that, by the way. I saw that on Reddit and I was like, oh, that's so clever.
That's good. I didn't recognize that in the moment either. I love
Yeah,
that. Just showing Mark getting closer to himself, Indian Mark.
that's so true. People were saying maybe that triggered the reintegration like moment that he had
Mm,
right after that.
I like that. Yeah. Wow. This episode, like I said, chock full of so many little details. I think next episode's going to be a whopper. Should we? I don't think I have any bingo things this week. Do you?
Actually, let me check. So, Rickon is still working on his book. One of my bingo things is Rickon book. But what I meant by that was like Rickon writes a new book. So
Oh,
I think I might get it at some point.
I I think you get that.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm there yet.
Not until it's
Um,
written.
yeah, not until it's written.
New absurd office perk again. I have something close with a melon head funeral, but
Not
not
really
a
a
perk.
perk.
Not a
But
perk.
the Black Beauty watermelon from Malaysia, gorgeous.
I love that it was like the way it was cut, his nose was still the rind.
I know, really impressive watermelon sculpting, whoever did that.
So good. Someone is severed just so they can carve melons all day.
That's right.
All right, let's talk some theories. We've got a few and we have some predictions for the future that we want to talk about.
Mhm.
The first one comes from Reddit. Reddit user I actually do know on Reddit says, my theory is that the exports guy is Audi Irving's dead husband, and Irving is on a mission to get him back.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Did they provide any evidence for this theory?
I think their evidence was that Irving's gay.
Wow. So any man is Irving's lover? That is
Well, yeah, that's how
disgusting.
gay works, Alicia. Um I think they're just connecting Irving's obsession with the Exportol and the
Oh,
fact that they are shrouding this new character in a strange way, that they're thinking maybe
wow.
this is an important person to Irving.
I mean, yeah, I think that would be really interesting. But it would be like, is everyone's spouse a dead person at Lumen? Like, I don't know. It would be a little bit like lackluster after the Gemma reveal, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think Redditors are very keen to say someone is someone's spouse and someone's spouse is severed slash dead just because we know Mark and Gemma have that dynamic. I don't
Yeah.
think that's the case for everyone. I think that's why Mark is so important to them because of this dynamic.
Yeah.
So I agree. I don't think this is Irving's long lost husband, but I think it might be someone that we know or is connected to another character.
Yeah, they're definitely withholding for a reason. So there will be a reveal.
Mhm. Another theory going around is that Bert is maybe not the cutesy girl that we think he is. And maybe he's working for Lumen.
I don't like that theory.
I know.
I
I mean,
want
he
Bert.
is
I I don't think I I don't know. I just don't get those vibes, but we haven't really seen Audi Bert very much at all.
I will say in the way they shot him watching from his car, it was a little creepy.
Well, do you think that because it was trying to be creepy, or do you think that because you think all men are creepy?
No, I love Bert. I mean, all men
You
are creepy,
only
but I
like
love Bert.
Bert because he's gay, man. Okay? You recognize he is potentially safer because he's gay. But if he were a regular
No.
old man, it would be creepy.
Oh yeah, that's gross. Um, but no, I mean, he could be spying on Irving. We've seen him twice watching him from afar, and it's when Irving is making these calls that are suspicious.
And then he does joke like, "I know where you live."
Exactly. They're they're writing this in a way that is leading us to believe he could be Creepster working for Lumen.
That would be an interesting twist because we've got a lot of, like, quote, unquote, "good guys."
I agree. Yeah, and we're kind of trying to turn everyone into a good guy like Milchick.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Some good
There might be
guys
some
got to
truth
turn
to it.
bad, you
That's what
know?
I say in the mirror every day. Uh, speaking of, people think we talked about this a little bit earlier, people think that Milchick is going to turn, and I think for sure that's happening.
They're definitely hinting towards it. I think it's gonna be more of a slow burn for him, like we saw
Mhm,
with the paintings, and then he was, like, laying the smack down about the Dieter story,
mhm,
and I do think, like I said, we're gonna see him go the other way before he turns good,
mhm.
but they're definitely hinting towards it, and it seems like his racial identity is playing a part in him understanding how evil this corporation is.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I hope Natalie is like his compadre in that. I want her
Yeah,
to be a part of, I don't know, like breaking the chains for the both of them.
I would love for her to sneak him a little something, like a little sign that
Ooh, yeah.
she's with him, you know? And I think if she does it, she won't even break, like, her
Mm-mm.
smile that she's so well known for. I think it
Yeah,
will be so discreet, but to him, he'll understand and he'll know that someone else is in there with him.
true. Yeah. I love
We'll
this.
see. I love this story.
I love this. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we think will happen next. You gave this some thought. I just have not thought about it at all. So I'd love to hear what you think we're going to see in the coming episodes.
Alicia's head empty watching Severance. Just kidding. Uh, so one interesting line I was kind of like stuck on was Mr. Drummond says, Mark Scout's completion of Cold Harbor will be remembered as one of the greatest moments in the history of this planet. And that just like reignited my curiosity into what the heck this file truly means. I know we've speculated a million different ways. In last episode, we were even saying Cold Harbor could be something that is not a file on this computer. I think this
Mhm.
episode, we got more clues that it is the file that they're really concerned about, the file on the
Mhm.
computer. Um, so the same questions remain. Like, what would be considered one of the greatest moments in the history of the planet that they could be working on?
Right. I don't know. I mean, they do use a lot of hyperbole around here. I mean, the largest waterfall on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I mean, that's very true. It could be just like an app.
It's DoorDash. It's DoorDash.
It's a fitness app.
Uh, yeah, but
But
like we're so close that is it going to happen like next episode that he's going to finish the file?
I don't know because they're moving in such weird pacing during the season that things that we thought were going to happen in like episode 8 have already happened. Mark's reintegrated. Like, so we already know about Helena. So many things have happened. So it
Yeah.
is possible that next episode he's like, oh, 99%, da-da-da, and then what happens? I think
Dude.
even this episode, he went from like 85 to 87%. So he's very
Oh
close.
wow. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and like they're implying between episodes like how much time has passed. I don't know. Like when he had his reintegration session with Rugabi to him living with her, like she's already doing laundry and stuff. Like how long has she been there that she needs to do laundry and she's complaining like you need to fix your dryer like they've lived together for years or something. Like I don't know, it's the time it's hard to gauge the time, but then when Helena's talking to Mr. Drummond and Natalie, they're just talking about like she needed to recover over the weekend from the ORTBO. So it's like I'm all lost on this timeline.
Yeah, I think Ragabi just might be overly familiar with Mark.
Probably.
I think they got close through the reintegration. And Mark's also, we didn't talk about this. Mark's drinking these gross, milky looking things and taking pills, and he's
Yeah,
having, he's coughing.
it's coughing.
He's,
Yeah.
he's having some symptoms from this.
Mhm.
Anywho, the last thing I wanted to talk about is the title of the next episode, which is Attila, which translates to father or little father. So people are saying this could either mean Jaime Egan or your Audi is going to be a father.
Oh, wow. I was thinking Kier, but yes, that makes more sense. Yeah, I wonder.
I,
They
I
haven't
think
so, like, they haven't really given us any pregnancy clues
not
yet.
yet. She hasn't thrown up yet, which is the universal sign
As
for she's pregnant.
as soon as she throws up, we all know what's going down.
We already know. Yeah, I predict we're going to see Helena throw up in the next episode or two.
Oh, that would be wild.
I think so.
Yep,
Because everyone knows what happens when you bang bang on TV.
true that. Yeah, yeah, and if this was all part of their plan, like, I think Helena's probably too far gone to turn to the good side. Like, she seems truly rotten in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
like she is so obviously just like a tool to them. Like her dad won't even give her the time of day to like make sure she's okay. And they're risking her life to like go down there when she's like her innies tried to kill her in Irving. threaten to drown her, and and she's getting pregnant, like, for their use potentially, like, that's crazy.
Lumen's getting messy. Lumen, it has been prepared to be messy to finish Cold Harbor. Like, whatever this is, they're like, at all costs, we don't care if Helena almost drowns and gets knocked up.
No, they don't care.
But wouldn't it be amazing if Helly and Mark found a way to get Heliar out?
That would be awesome. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how they'd do it because, like, all of the ways in and out, they'd have to go find, like, the security panel again and do something.
Yeah, it could be one of the other settings that we
It's
saw
gotta be.
or didn't see.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Something more permanent than
Ooh.
OTC that doesn't require you to hold buttons in place, you know?
Right. Or maybe Ragabi can help with something like that.
Ooh.
Now that would blow my mind.
Wow. Things are getting very interesting. I'm so excited. We only have, I think there are, how many episodes? 10?
I think there's 10. Mhm.
Okay, so we're halfway through now, and so much has happened. I'm thrilled, but we're definitely reaching a crazy buildup. Like, normally I feel like we see this around like episode 7, 8, something like that. So I think we're getting there.
I know. There's no misses with this show. It's just like 100% good stuff. And I'm having a lot of fun watching
Me
it and
too.
chatting about it with you, Leash.
Same.
Well, thank you all for listening. Please go find us on Instagram, find us on TikTok. We share some clips. I want to hear you got your guys' theories
Mhm.
because we want to know what you're thinking. You're watching along. You're probably like yelling at us like that we're dumb, and we want to hear it.
Well, do we? But yes, if you mean well, if you love us, we wanna hear
Don't get personal, but
it. Yeah, thanks for listening. It got really dark in this room I'm in, so if the clips you're watching just get darker and darker, just know I'm filming this late afternoon, early evening.
and happy Valentine's Day, my little lovebirds.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Love you all.
Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.